Hey guys, in this video we're going to be covering Target 3D.3. Our master learning objective is I can solve systems of linear quadratic equations by using square roots. So kind of similar to what we were doing in the last video, except we're not going to factor or use the quadratic equation. We have to use using the square root. So the first step is set the equation equal to each other. So same as before, x minus 2 quantity squared minus 9 equals negative 7. That is step 1. Step 2, it says get what is being squared by itself. So right now I have that minus 9 over there, and I have to get rid of it. So I do the inverse, which means I add 9 over to the other side. This also is like our please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, but we have to do it backwards, right? We do our subtraction and addition first, then division and multiplication, then exponents in parentheses. So just keep that in mind. We always do the opposite operation, starting with addition and subtraction. Alright, so now this is going to have x minus 2 quantity squared is going to equal negative 7 plus 9 is going to be a positive 2. Alright, now it says take the square root of both sides. So taking the square root, I'm going to take the square root, take the square root, right? This is step 3. The other thing is, don't forget, when we take the square root, we must have our plus minus sign. So next side, left side, x minus 2. Right side is going to be plus minus square root of 2. Also, there is no I, right? Or there is no I because there is no negative. So right here, no I because no negative. Really great English, right? Sorry. No I because there's no negative underneath the radical. So don't get I happy. Next step is to solve for x, right? That's step 4. So this is adding, or this is subtracting 2. So the opposite is to add 2. This is going to give me x equals 2 plus or minus square root of 2. So this is what x is. And I still have to write what my two equations are. Not my two equations, my two solutions are. So this is my x value. So for one full, let me get a different color here. It's purple. My whole x value for one of these options is x plus the square root of 2. And then we need the y value. The y value was given to me at the top there, right? So it was just minus 7. So that's one solution. The other solution is when x is 2 minus square root of 2, still comma that negative 7 because that y value has not changed. So you need to remember that this is my y. That should be present in both answers. As well as when we see that plus minus sign, right? This plus minus sign, there's a plus over here, and there is a subtraction, which is over here, right? So you need to account for both those answers. If you don't need to highlight those, that's fine. You can go ahead and move on to the next question. So that's what we're doing for this section, is solving by taking the square root. If you could also do me a favor and just go ahead for yourself and give yourself a step 5, just so that you remember. I'm going to say solve for y. Then write solution. And I'm going to put it into parentheses because it could be more than 1. Alright, just so that you remember to go back and actually state the answer and not just jump after you solve for that one variable. Alright, let's keep practicing. So, first step is set these equal to each other. X plus 1 quantity squared plus 3 equals 3. And to go ahead and isolate what's being squared. That's my step 2. So I'm going to subtract 3 over, right? Opposite operations. X plus 1 quantity squared equals 3 minus 3 is 0. Step 3 says take the square root of both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of both sides. This is going to be x plus 1 equals square root of 0 is just 0. No need to do a plus minus because there is no positive negative version of 0. Still have to isolate my variable, right? Because step 4 is to solve for x. So if I'm adding 1, the inverse is subtract 1 on each side. And this is going to give me x equals -1. All right. But I have to go back and actually write what my solution is. So one of my solutions is -1, comma. I get that y value from the original, and y was equal to 3. There is no plus minus sign because I only had one x value. Again, that came because there was no plus minus version of 0. So this only has one solution. All right, last example here, number 3. I have y equals the quantity of x minus 5 squared minus 11, and y equals 14. So the first step is set each of those equal to each other. Then step 2 says get whatever's being squared by itself. So I want to add 11 to each side. The quantity of x minus 5 squared. 14 plus 11 is 25. I then do the opposite of squaring something. So that brings me to step 3, which is take the square root. X minus 5 equals plus minus 5, right? Square root of 25 is 5. Isolate my variable x, which is do the opposite operation. So x is going to equal 5 plus minus 5. These are like terms. So one of the options then, I'd have 5 plus 5, which equals 10. And I'll have 5 minus 5, which is 0. So those are my two x values. I'm going to go ahead and write them over here. X equals 10. And x equals 0. I'm going to go ahead and state what my answers are then, because it already told me what my y was. Right? Y is equal to 14 in each of these cases. So one of my answers is going to be at 10, 14. And the other one is going to be at 0, 14. This gives me two solutions, which means my system here intersects or crosses 2 times. Alright, that brings us to the end of this video. Go ahead and work on activity 3D.3. After that activity, you will be taking the unit test. So remember, once you get that review, you only get 2 days to complete it. You do not need that test review done. You're on that second day. After that second day, the third day is when you start the test. So please make sure you are trying to complete that review packet. Ask any questions you need, and good luck.